It is another early exit from the Australia Cup for Central Coast Mariners after an incredible marathon of the penalty shootout. 11-10 in the end. Sydney United 58 prevailing in the shootout. 1-1 after the end of extra time. There is a lot to discuss from this game. Would love to hear from you, so feel free to jump into the comments, drop your thoughts on this match. We're going to take a look at the starting 11 that played for the Mariners, as well as some of the match stats, and try and just come away from this game with some positives, because there are a lot of positives to take away from this match, that is for sure. While it is obviously extremely disappointing that Mariners yet again have exited the Australia Cup early on here, there certainly is, I think, a lot of reasons to be excited for the upcoming campaign under new head coach John Hutchinson. Obviously, this was Hutchinson's first game in charge, and the lineup that the Mariners did deploy for this game was a very youthful lineup, but there were some interesting things to highlight here. First of all, Andrew Redmayne in goals. It was a back four of Storm Roux, Shumba Mutakoi, Noah McCann, and Lucas Moragas. So Mutakoi and McCann making their debuts here for the Mariners. Chris Donnell in the heart of midfield alongside Ollie O'Carroll, who was also making his debut. Ali Oglar, interestingly enough, we'll come back to this, but was playing that number 10 role, that central attacking midfield role. Arthur DeLima on the right, Bailey Brantman off the left, and it was Ollie Laval leading the line through the middle. There were, we should mention, a handful of players missing from the overall squad. We had a number of young players on the bench, but the likes of Trent Sainsbury, Diesel Harrington, new signing Christian Popovich, all these guys were missing from the squad. No Hayne Eames as well. So I don't think we've got any confirmation in regards to where those players were. Obviously, you got Sainsbury, who's probably still returning to full match fitness after that injury last year. But I've been curious to hear what's going on with the likes of Hayne Eames and Christian Popovich and Diesel Harrington. You'd imagine maybe that there's just maybe some injury concerns there, perhaps. Hopefully nothing too serious, of course. We don't know for sure. But look, heading into this game, looking at the starting 11, I was excited. I was optimistic that we could get a result from this match. There was certainly a lot of threat in, especially that attacking setup there. Laval leading the line. And Oglar, again, playing the central attacking midfield role. I think everyone's expectation was that Oglar was going to play on the right-hand side, as that's the position that he was so effective in for the Mariners for the second half of last season, cutting in onto that left boot. But he was playing the central attacking midfield role, which I think is a position that he really enjoyed playing. He obviously sort of got a lot more of the possession, it seemed, playing in that central position and picking up little pockets. And it wasn't, that three playing behind Laval of DeLima, Brantman, and Oglar, they were drifting around quite a bit. DeLima and Brantman coming infield at times. There was a whole lot of, I guess, the dynamics of that attacking quartet was, they're quite fluid in the way they were moving around the pitch. And Donnell and O'Carroll, I thought, were really solid, sort of providing that base in the heart of midfield to provide those attacking players the freedom to play. Ollie O'Carroll, I did want to talk about him for a moment because he was very, very impressive. Very, very young, just 17 years of age, coming in for his starting debut. And I think that suggests to us, I reckon, that John Hutchinson believes, trusts in Ollie O'Carroll, that he is a top player and can perform here for the Mariners. And there were some really good moments from him where he was being pressured by maybe 2-3 players and some just nice turns on the ball, finding some space. There were some really, just really good glimpses, I think, from O'Carroll in this game. So he could be a player who gets a lot of game time this A-League season for the Mariners. And Chris Donnell, I thought, was arguably our best player on the park. He was fantastic, I thought, and worth highlighting, wearing the captain's armband. So I don't think we've got any official confirmation yet that Chris Donnell is going to be like the captain this season. But this is interesting. Chris Donnell was wearing the captain's armband here. Last season, we did see a number of players wear the captain's armband for the Mariners. Redmayne, Brad Tapp. And this season, it could be Chris Donnell, who only arrived at Central Coast Mariners in January, but was very, very good, I thought, arriving at the Mariners and second half of last season. He was very solid and was fantastic in this game. Played all 120 minutes, scored a penalty. He was very, very solid, and I think he's going to be one of the most important players in our starting 11, just to provide that, a real sort of out-and-out defensive midfielder. He's going to do that hard work in the heart of midfield. I thought he was great in this game, Chris Donnell. And a word on those two centre-backs as well, Mutakoi and McCann. I thought actually both of those guys had really, really good games. I mean, Mutakoi, we know that he's been at the Mariners for some time now, but finally making his debut, with the first team here, with the A-League side here in the Australia Cup. I thought he looked very, very composed in this game for a player still so young. And Noah McCann as well. We know 20 years of age, coming over from QPR, player. I thought he was solid overall in this contest. Obviously, he'll be very disappointed with that moment at the end of regular time, committing that foul for the penalty. And Lucas Moragas, Stormroo, solid as always. Moragas working so hard down the left-hand side. He was getting into some really attacking positions throughout this game. I even noted that at times Moragas was even coming infield, almost Geordie Boss-esque, with Brantman sort of pulling wide and Lucas Moragas wanting to come inside, almost sort of in the little pocket of space just ahead of Sydney United 58's defence, almost as another attacking midfielder there. So something interesting that I noted there in the play for the Mariners. But overall, the general play for the Mariners I thought was really good. There were some really nice passages of play. Look, this was a very, very intense game. It was a physical game. There were plenty of fouls, plenty of challenges, and Sydney United 58, credit to them. You know, they were good on the night and gave us a really, really tough test for a first competitive game in charge for John Hutchinson, the first game of the season, you know, still early on pre-season. This was a really grueling match, not just going through to extra time and penalty shootouts, but even just the 90 minutes alone. It was physical. It was intense. At times, the pace was really, really intense and fast, and there was some really nice passing plays from Central Coast Mariners. And again, I think that's sort of one thing to be excited about, that there was some really exciting football that was being played, and at times we were really pressing as well. When Sydney United 58 had the ball, we saw the likes of Laval, Brandman, DeLima really looking to apply the pressure. There was an intensity that I noticed from the Mariners in this game that was maybe lacking in the last couple of years. I'm not saying that, you know, we haven't been intense in the last couple of years, but it's really stood out to me in this game that there was the pressing, there was a pace to the game here for Mariners, and I think John Hutchinson, I think, will be pleased with some aspects of this game, and that there were sort of promising signs and things to build on heading into the A-League season. Let's take a look at the match stats because it is quite interesting. So on the left-hand side there, Sydney United 58, Mariners there. On the right, in the yellow, 57% possession. These stats coming from FotMob, so a little bit more possession here for the Mariners. You look at the shot stats here in the end, it is interesting. Sydney United 58, 19 shots, but just 5 on target. And in fact, most of those shots were from outside the penalty area as well. For the Mariners, 9 shots, 4 on target. You can see Sydney United there with many more touches in the opponent's box as well. More corners in the end, 6 to 1 there. Pass accuracy, Mariners a little bit better there, 79% compared to Sydney United 58 with 68%. Just 3 yellow cards to the Mariners, 1 to Sydney United 58. So, it is interesting there, looking at those shot stats for Sydney United 58. A lot of those shots did come towards the end of regular time with Sydney United 58 pushing for that equaliser. Great moment for Ollie Laval to get that goal first off, to break the sort of the scoreline there open for the Central Coast Mariners. Really nice play. The ball sort of bouncing to the middle. Great flicked on header by Bailey Brantman and Laval. Again, I spoke about it in the transfer news video that we did here on the channel a couple weeks ago with Ollie Laval, that I think he's got the potential to really take his game to the next level this season at Central Coast Mariners. We saw glimpses of it last year. He only grabbed those couple of goals away to Auckland. But that pace, that burst of pace, and the finish as well, because that wasn't an easy finish from Ollie Laval with former Mariners goalkeeper Adam Pavlicic rushing out to meet him. To get that finish to find that bottom corner, that was a lethal finish. That was a really nice piece of play there from Ollie Laval. I thought he had a good game overall. So I'm expecting him to have a big campaign here, Ollie Laval, and if he can produce moments like that consistently throughout the season, he will bag a lot of goals this season, that is for sure. So look, while the shot stats weren't necessarily there for the Mariners, Sydney United again just really dominating at the end of regular time and unfortunately getting that penalty and sending the game to extra time, and Sydney United 58, they had some great chances late on there. Look, there are a lot of positives to take out from this game. I think overall, while it was a loss in the end, penalty shootout, what can we say about the penalties? It's just crazy that we've gone through yet another just marathon of the penalty shootout. Of course, we remember the penalty shootout from a couple of years ago away to Sydney FC down in Wollongong, that was for the Australia Cup. But there were a lot of positives to take away from this game. The young players looking very, very impressive. Those two centre backs, Mutakoi and McCann, I thought were solid. O'Carroll with those promising signs. Even off the bench, Betfanovsky making his debut. McCaskey, I mean, we feel for him, missing that penalty. But great to see Callum McCaskey make his debut as well. Harry Steele coming off the bench as well. So there's certainly, I think, a lot of reasons, again, to be excited about the upcoming campaign. And we'd love to hear from you guys as well. How did you feel coming away from this game? While it was, I was just, so disappointed that we were knocked out from the Australia Cup early on yet again. It's just year after year now that unfortunately the journey ends for us. But I'm excited for this upcoming season, and I'm excited to see, what the Mariners offer this campaign with this new exciting brand of football that John Hutchinson is wanting to play. And look, this is early on in pre-season. This is just the very, very beginning, and it can only get better from here for the Mariners as the players get used to this new style of play. And hopefully we are set for an exciting A-League men's campaign. But it ends here early on in the Australia Cup for the Mariners. Congratulations to Sydney United 58 going through to the next stage, prevailing in the end there after that crazy penalty shootout. Jump into the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. Make sure to hit the like button on the way out if you are keen to see more Mariners content right here on YouTube. My name's Lockie. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next one.